The obvious elephant in the room is artificial intelligence and what that's doing, both in terms of how agencies are run and also how they're deploying services, what the clients are doing with AI as well. So it's not just like the agency using it, but the clients are using it. I think some expectations are changing and what you're doing for your clients in terms of results. I mean, that bar has certainly been raising very quickly. And so I think a lot of agencies are feeling a little bit of squeeze, but at the same time, they're feeling a lot of excitement.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Duct Tape Marketing Podcast. This is John Jantsch and my guest today is Brent Weaver. He is the CEO of E2M Solutions, a leading provider of white label WordPress, SEO, content, and AI solutions for digital marketing agencies. So guess what we're going to talk about today? We're going to talk about agencies and we're going to talk about digital marketing. So Brent, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Thanks, John.
I did get the title right, didn't I? You're the CEO currently? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm wrapping up my 9th week on duty. So it's been a new adventure for me.
Well, it's E2M is not new necessarily. So worked with hundreds of agencies. What in your time and what you've learned or from the folks there, what do you see as some of the biggest changes in the agency landscape right now? And I know it's evolving rapidly, but I'm curious what you're hearing because you pretty much talk to agencies all day long.
Yeah. I mean, the obvious elephant in the room is artificial intelligence and what that's doing, both in terms of how agencies are run and also how they're deploying services and also what the clients are doing with AI as well. So it's not just like the agency using it, but the clients are using it. So I think some expectations are changing and also speed to results is changing because a client might say, well, hey, if I can just have AI do this in 3 minutes, right? Like, why is it going to take you 3 or 4 days? And just kind of working on how to up level your level, what you're doing for your clients in terms of results. I mean, that bar has certainly been raising very quickly in terms of what expectations are. And so I think a lot of agencies are feeling a little bit of squeeze, but at the same time, they're feeling a lot of excitement.
And to tag on to that, though, of course, your primary function is to, in most cases, act as a white label support for that agency. Yeah. So I'm curious, has the white label mode evolved? I mean, it's affecting agencies. So how's it then in turn affecting what a white label provider like yourself is doing?
And we've really planted a flag that we want to be an AI first agency. And so we are doing lots of internal kind of retooling education. We have a thing called AI First Saturday where our whole company comes in every first Saturday of the month. And some of that time has been dedicated to education, working on projects kind of, within the teams, doing demo days, hackathons. And so we're definitely taking AI very seriously. Our team's taking AI very seriously. We're also doing fractional AI services for agencies. So actually going in and helping the agency implement AI solutions. And so I think people want better results. They want them faster, right? It's, dealing with Amazon, right? Like people used to think, I ordered something on the internet. It's okay that it takes 7 to 10 days to show up, right? But in the post-Amazon world, you're like, well, like my kids, for example, they're like, why I ordered this 30 minutes ago. Why is it not already at the front door? I think some of that impatience is seeping its way into the business to business service model. And I also think some of that kind of what people expect in terms of a customer centered business, like Amazon will give you refunds on just about anything. I think customers are expecting some of that for some of their agency customers, but it's certainly having a huge impact on the overall industry.
So since you opened the AI can of worms, I'll go there directly. What I'm seeing a lot of people do is, it's like we're in this Wild West days still where there's 473 tools and people are hacking this $20 a month thing together with this $20 a month thing. They're talking about agents and what they can do. What I'm seeing on the business side, the small business side, is like, okay, I get it. We need to do AI, but this is exhausting. And, is there ever going to be a day you think where a business owner can actually buy the full marketing operating system that is AI run and install it in their business and not, have to lean on their agency to do this and an SEO person to do that with AI? To me, and again, I'm just asking your opinion because it doesn't exist today, but I feel like that's where we're going to go. There's going to be the $5.99 a month solution that's sort of an all-in-one as opposed to custom this and custom that and custom, whatever.
And perhaps, I think, John, that the more I've gotten into AI personally and the more like projects and use cases that I've seen it's like the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And I certainly think that's true with AI. And we're seeing a lot of people do some, what I would almost consider to be magical things with AI.
Yeah.
But then there's also this like, maybe they do something where they don't really have the foundational skill set. They're using a tool like Lovable and they're doing vibe coding and they build an application that gets to a certain point. And then the client says, well, hey, we actually need this from a business requirement thing to do this other thing. And then all of a sudden that other thing maybe isn't possible within the vibe coding, interface. And all of a sudden you have this thing that an agency has spent weeks on in terms of vibe coding application build. And then the thing that they needed to do from a business case is not possible within the AI. And so then we're hitting this wall and we have to go, oh my gosh, we're going to have to build this from the ground up without vibe coding in order to make the business case work. I think there was a study that said that something like 40 to 60% of enterprise AI projects, and I should probably have a source on this if I'm going to quote it, but 40 to 60% of AI projects at the enterprise level are being abandoned or never seeing the light of day. And if we all know, like from reading Wall Street, like how much money is being invested in AI, that means like over half of the investment that major corporations are making is basically being thrown in the trash. And I'm seeing that same level of kind of experimentation happen at the agency level and also at the small business owner level. And so I think there's just so much learning that has to be done. And the upside though is you find an AI automation or agentic workflow that works, that gets to 100%, it can have game-changing impact on the business, right? Like the ROI on it can be, infinity. And so it's certainly worth making these investments, but it doesn't mean that every investment is going to pay off.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges in the window that we're in right now is in some cases, the hype of AI is actually outrunning the reality of it. And I think that a lot of people are like, oh, we can fire everybody and do it all with AI. I mean, you see these people on Facebook ads, like, I have a $16 billion company and I only have 2 employees, and you're like,
they like show this big, like screenshot of all their automations. Like, look at how crazy. I've replaced 64 employees, right? And like, maybe, I don't know. I mean, usually I find when you kind of double click on those things and you go in, there's usually some smoke and mirrors around those things, but I don't want to
100% there is. And I think that, it's like all things. It's kind of like taking advantage of the craze is actually making the reality a lot worse and a lot harder for that business owner that just needs a couple things, figured out to not even to replace people, but to actually empower their people in ways to do better and more work. All right. So I'll get off my soapbox on that one and move to, let's talk about SEO, which is a tactic, of course, a channel, if you will, that you guys play in quite a bit. That's another one of those where there's, like it would take me about 2 minutes to find somebody who today put on LinkedIn, SEO is dead. By the way, it's not. But how are you advising clients? How are you changing even your routine and working around the reality that a lot of top of funnel types of content that used to generate traffic is certainly gone away? We can debate whether or not it was that valuable anyway. But, how are you evolving your model when you think about SEO practices?
If there's a piece of content that you could easily just ask, chat, and you would get a great answer for that content, if that's what you're going to be putting on your client's website to help them grow their rank or grow their traffic from the LLMs and things like that. I mean, that's certainly probably not going to be a great strategy. And I think most people got that memo when they saw how much traffic decreased for those kind of common things, right? Like, how do I make great guacamole, right? Is just going to be the user experience to ask that question on chat is going to be far better than on a Google browser, unless somebody has some type of proprietary ingredient or approach where they can actually build some intellectual property around it and kind of protect that unique recipe, right? In that case. Or they have a really great personality around teaching people how to make guacamole or whatever, and they're a great YouTuber, and there's some type of thing that's unique that AI cannot replicate that they can bring to the marketplace. So I do think marketers have to be a little bit more creative. There's kind of a reinvention that's going on. That being said, there's also a ton of people that are now using LLMs to search for business recommendations, to search for services.
100%.
And certainly there's a whole cottage industry. I mean, the amount of SEO business that we've had has categorically gone up year over year, right? And that's kind of in the post-AI world. And a big thing on the E2M team is how are we optimizing our clients' websites and search strategy for the LLMs, right? Kind of the AEO strategies, while we're also using, continuing to invest in Google. And I think Google, for instance, I mean, I don't know if search traffic, the Google usage has necessarily gone down. I mean, I think they're still driving a lot of traffic to businesses. Google Local, massively important for businesses to be active, right? Especially if they're a service business or they're working locally or regionally, right? And that's something that I think the LLMs aren't doing nearly as well as Google. And so there's certainly still lots of blue oceans, I think, on the SEO side.
Yeah, and I think you're 100% right. I mean, I'm speaking at a conference next month of all remodeling contractors, and they're all talking about like, what do we need to be doing to change? And I was like, hey, show up in that map pack, do a better job of your reviews, answer, have a lot of FAQs, that answer questions that people would have about remodeling, because the trust, I think, with the map pack, whether it's deserved or not, that the consumer has is going to, I think, give that a life for a long time. And I don't think you're going to see the AI overviews for somebody you can go there and say, in AI mode, you can say, what's the best remodeling contractor in this town? And it will give you an opinion. But I think people still value the map pack and the proximity and, all the things that come with it.
One thing, I think there's this like undertone of like, is AI going to make agencies like obsolete or something?
Yeah.
And it's weird because like I've asked this to a lot of agency groups. I've been like, okay, in the post AI world, like who here is working less, right? And I asked people like raise their hands, and like nobody raised their hand. I'm like, okay,
they're all working more, in fact.
Right, they're working more. They're working way more, right? It is weird. It's a weird paradigm, right? Because you would think, hey, artificial intelligence, the computer is going to do all the work for me. It's like the logical, outcome of that would be that we wouldn't have to work as hard. Yeah. And, even though these tools do magical things, I don't think they make finding leads and customers any easier. If anything, they're just making it even more competitive. They're giving, advanced marketing tools to a lot larger group of people. And so it's getting more competitive out there. And that means that businesses still need agencies and specialists now more than ever. In fact, they need specialists that are specialized in specializations inside of specializations. And that was the other thing I was going to kind of bring as a theme is look, like knowing who your customer is, having niche expertise, really knowing your market backwards and forwards, knowing your market better than your clients know their industry, I think is now more important than ever. The idea of just being a general, hey, I'm Brent, I'm the web guy, right? Like, I don't think that's going to fly in 2026 and beyond, if it is even flying right now.
So let's talk about the human element. I think a lot of people are wringing their hands around. I mean, every time you see these headlines that, Microsoft says they're 40% of all jobs will go away by, the next 3 years. I think you have a lot of people kind of wringing their hands around about like, is this going to destroy the world? If 40% of the people are out of jobs. I'll tell you what we see is I see a lot of people that are working more, as you said. And a lot of it's because the consumer or the business owner behavior has changed a little bit in that they expect more. So that's part of it. But our mantra has always been strategy before tactics. We actually feel that if you develop a great marketing strategy, marketing becomes less complicated, but far more effective. What I see is a whole lot of agencies that have always been delivering tactics are now just using AI to deliver a new set of tactics and still not thinking strategically. I think what businesses are going to need in the future is marketing leadership and not marketing doers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I should have posed that as a question, but it was really more of a statement.
We're running this event. It's all about AI for agency owners. And I promise this is not just a direct plug for our event, but obviously it's my duty to promote our event right now. But one of our attendees, and he's kind of an AI first person, he registered for our event, right? Went in and purchased a ticket, all using his ChatGPT agent. So he literally just, driving in the car, said, hey, go buy a ticket to Vistara. And his agent, went and it takes screenshots and says, hey, this is what I'm doing along the way. He just kind of had to say, yep. And the agent already has all of his information. It has all of the information that it needs in order to make that fill out the web forms and actually purchase a product. And it's almost like every business from that perspective, every business's website just became kind of the Amazon one-click shopping experience.
Yeah.
If we fast forward 2-3 years, if we all have these agents that have, secure access to our banking details and to our PII, and they know kind of our preferences. I mean, what could you do if you can line up an experience that is going to meet the needs of a specific target audience? You have very few barriers standing between you and them making a transaction, becoming a customer. And I think in that way, right, AI is going to be disrupting some of these workflows, some of these user interfaces, just as web professionals and digital agencies, how we view creating those experiences, right? And so I think that while AI is certainly going to destroy some number of jobs, whether it's 40%, 20%, I don't know what the number is, right? I trust Microsoft. They're now worth $4 trillion. They must be doing something right. But I think for every job that it destroys, there's going to be new jobs created.
I'm seeing that already, right?
If I lived in a Waymo city, I was just out in California, I rode in my first driverless taxi. Would I still have a car? I don't know, because I'm like, well, what if I just used Waymo to get everywhere I needed to go? And when I'm in the car, I'm going to work on, I'm going to be productive. I'm going to do work. I'm going to be I'll call 10 more agencies to see if they can come to my event. Right. So I do think that there's like some things that are not super exciting in terms of jobs in the marketplace right now that likely are going to go away, right? Like data entry, data harvesting from the internet.
Basic research. Yeah.
Content editors, right? Like I can get a lot of my content, I can dictate it to chat and gives me pretty good content. It even gives me some suggestions on how to evolve it and gives me different, hey, here's a version for LinkedIn. Here's a version for Facebook. Here's a version for Instagram, right? Here's a script that you can go and take a video and record, right? So things that I would have relied on 3, 4, or 5 people before, I can get done myself. And a lot of times, I don't think I was necessarily hiring those people. I just wasn't doing it, right? I'd post maybe on one platform instead of 4, and I wouldn't hire a social media person to do that. And so I think that some of these things are certainly going to destroy jobs, but like what will my kids' jobs be in 15, 20 years? I have no idea, but they'll have something to do. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm even seeing that in our organization, people that really were good doers, good implementers, we're really pushing them to they have to be more, whether they have employees under them or not, they have to really think more like leaders and think more like managers who are going to optimize, some of these tools as opposed to, writing every bit of social media content. They're going to be, looked more as managers. And I think that from a skill set standpoint, that's probably not everybody's sweet spot. I mean, there definitely are people that are just very good at give me an SOP and I'll follow it.
Yeah.
But I do think that from a career standpoint, if you're one of those people, you probably need to really start looking at how do I up my strategic thinking, my EQ skills, over and above, being able to manage a spreadsheet.
And sometimes, not to like be like capitalist or whatever, but like, I think at some point, right, if people aren't willing to move towards that opportunity voluntarily, they will, maybe have to learn some hard lessons. And some of those might be expensive lessons. I think certainly as an entrepreneur, I've had to learn some expensive lessons when I didn't pivot hard enough or, change my business or change my mindset fast enough. And then you lose a big chunk of business or you lose your business, right? Then you're like, oh, that was a hard lesson. I'm never going to do that again. So I think, if people don't evolve right now and they don't invest time, like, again, we're doing these AI first Saturdays as a team. And at first people are like, oh, I got to come in on Saturday. And we're like, hey, look, this is the reality.
Yeah.
Like we're all working an extra day right now to make sure that we can properly retool and learn enough about this tech, because during the week, we're all very focused on client work. We're focusing on, doing the day-to-day business. And so, we've made that as a priority all the way up to our leadership team, right? I mean, I'm waking up at 4:00 every Saturday, joining the team and, working on AI stuff.
Well, Brent, we've frittered away a perfectly good 20 minutes here, trying to help talk people off the cliff a little bit. Is there some place you'd invite people to learn more about E2M's solutions?
Yeah, you can definitely check us out at E2MSolutions.com. You can always email me, Brent at E2MSolutions.com. We're running an event called Vistara at the end of September, depending on when this episode airs. Join Vistara.com. So we're doing 2 full days on artificial intelligence and agency growth. So, I mean, we think this is such an important topic. We're running a full 2-day event on this in Denver, Colorado. So if you're interested, certainly reach out.
Well, I'm just down the road. I should probably come down and speak at the event.
I think so. We should.
Well, let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
All right. Awesome. Well, again, I appreciate you stopping by, and hopefully we'll see you soon out there on the road.
Thanks, John.